Good afternoon and welcome to Omnibroslive. I am a co-host here, Omnidog from Omnidog's Vault, with my co-host, A Week in Geekdom. How's it going?
Doing pretty well. Happy to be here on a fine, irregular Sunday morning.
Right. And with us is our guest writer, Frank Gogol. Frank, how's it going?
All things considered, not that bad.
That's good.
Could be worse.
Okay, good. That's what we need. We need some good news. So good for you. So usually we have news on Sunday, but the news is pretty much all bad at this point.
Yeah.
So I would say, unless anybody has any really good news, we should go ahead and talk to Frank about some of his new work, because I know, I think, Gio, your shirt is awesome. Iron Maiden.
Oh, that is a good shirt. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
It's from one of the concerts I was at.
You went to an Iron Maiden concert? I never took you for a Maiden fan. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I listened to a lot of random stuff, including Iron Maiden. That was back in 2010 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I saw him in 1984.
I wasn't even born then.
Same. I wasn't even alive.
Here's Gabe joining us.
There's my buddy.
What up, Gabe?
Yo, what up, dude? What's up, Frank?
How's it going, man?
I'm excellent, man. Good to see you.
How's the retail side of things?
We're doing fine. We're
Nice.
doing fine,
Good. That's what I like to hear.
which is good to hear. Yeah, the Instagram sales is killing it. I said it before. Basically, Torpedo Comics, the brick and mortar store is dead. It's all about the online Instagram sales right now.
Yeah, I figured you guys were doing all right. Like, I've been checking in on retailers. I think I've talked to about 300 over the last 2 weeks, and like, I figured, I would get to you when I got to you to see how you were doing.
Yeah, man, we'll do it in person. It's better that way. in person on YouTube. Let me close this window. It's too many light.
Facebook user, I don't know your name, but thank you for the compliment.
There we go.
Good news, you guys are still awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Facebook person.
Very cool. Here's a new viewer. Just hates 90s comics.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I can't be a part of that.
It's not true. Iron Maiden rules, he says. He showed up in my chat yesterday. And there were several Jesses in my chat yesterday. So some people are saying we are in their feed. Some people are saying we're not. I don't know. We'll have to see. Yesterday, everything went fine with my feed, so we'll have to see if everybody gets notifications.
I got the notification.
What's that?
I got the notification on my phone, on my laptop, everything.
Oh, good.
It's in my
Videos
feed.
on the feed. Yep.
Along with my Thomas and Friends subscription.
Thomas the Tank Engine?
Yep.
Cool. I used to watch that with Kelly when she was a wee lass.
My house is nothing but Thomas the Train most of the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got the notification too.
Oh, okay, good. Well, as long as our guest got the notification, that's what's important.
What are you drinking, Frank?
What do you think?
Whiskey?
Nah, it's just coffee.
Oh, okay.
This is just my favorite mug.
I thought we're gonna get day drunk on the show today.
Listen, man, it's a real possibility. Really, I mean, it's only 9 o'clock for me.
Yeah, only 9 o'clock here too, man. We're gonna get day drunk and show off our nipples.
You lost me at nipples. I couldn't do that to the Omna family.
Speaking of inappropriateness, it's time to talk about our sponsor, InStockTrades.com, which is very appropriate. They are the go-to place for books, collected editions. You can get your books up to 50% off. Loyalty discounts at 2% of that. They're having a huge damages sale, which is gone on for days now. A lot of books 50% off. And there's always an OmniBros special code every quarter. They are kind enough to give us a gift card every month to give away. And if you're in the United States and you order $50 or more worth of comics, you get free shipping, fabulous packaging, fabulous service, customer service. That's InStockTrades.com.
Nice.
And everyone should be stocking up on that stuff that they didn't buy before that they've always wanted to read.
Yeah,
that's right. Now's the time.
Yeah,
now's the time.
I'm reading Lock and Key for the first time, and it's on its way.
Ooh.
They're one of their owners, Christina Merkler, was on 11 O'Clock Comics just recently, apparently, talking about the ins and the outs, things going on with that side of things. With DCBS, she runs the DCBS side of things, and the direct market, and how that's affecting them. I guess haven't heard it yet. I do like 11 O'Clock Comics. Jess hates them.
I do not hate them.
And
Jess hates 90s comics and 11 O'Clock Comics.
I do not hate any of that stuff. I would like to listen to that podcast, though. I'm interested in her perspective.
I'll put it in our chat, the OmniBros chat.
Okay.
And then I'll put it in let me log into YouTube, and I'll put it in the YouTube chat so that all the knuckleheads in the chat get a chance to listen to it too. And I'll send you the link that doesn't get you like the weird virus spam website.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So Frank, what's the latest on Dead End Kids?
Well, it came out last year, so not much.
Is it in a collected edition?
It is actually. I was getting there, man. I was getting there. It came out last week. Hang on. Boom. Came out.
Nice.
Ooh.
And it's just $10 too. Like I fought really hard to make it cheap for everybody. Because I don't really care about money. Oh, it's cat hair in there. It came out a week ago. It's $10, collects the whole thing, has a huge cover gallery because there were like 1 million variants. And it's a lot of people missed out, so it's like a pretty good way to be able to dip into the story.
I've been personally.
Dude, how happy are you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I've been personally waiting for the collected edition, so I'm excited for this.
Yeah, In Stock Trades doesn't have it, and I'm trying to get in touch over there to see like how we can get Source Point stuff in there. But Cheap Graphic Novels did, and the Source Point Press website has it. And it's all the same price everywhere. Actually, I think Cheap Graphic Novels has it for $7.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great because considering I don't know, you must be really happy about that, Frank. But that first issue was a huge aftermarket baby doll. That thing was I was selling them for like $40.
Yeah. Wow. I was selling them for $40 too.
Yeah.
I went like real big, and I bought like 300 copies of it like before it got big, just so I'd have stuff for signings. And like, I held on to those things till like October, and they were still selling really well by then.
That's awesome.
I think I still have 1 copy left somewhere.
I think I still got my copies here too. But yeah,
Actually,
it's crazy. I know that guy. His book is like the craziest book going on right now. So.
I've actually got a pretty cool secondary market story. So I saw a listing on eBay for a 9.8 graded copy. I think it's it's right here. So I had this copy was on eBay, and the listing said in the title in caps, optioned for a movie, which as the writer, I knew it wasn't. So I bid on it, got it dirt cheap. Like these were going for about $100 at the time. The sale was over at like 3 a.m. I got it for like $38. And then I sent the guy a message, with my name and like bold. It was like, yeah, man, send it to this address to this person. And like, I just wish I could have been there to see his face. Like when he had to put my name on the envelope to send it, and then like realized that I knew he was full of shit.
No, you can say all you want. Fuck shit ass balls. Yeah, go for it.
All right. But yeah, that's my secondary market story.
Option for a movie. Wow.
Option for a movie.
Yeah, I mean like a blatant ass lie.
You should sign it and then get it a yellow label.
Yeah, I might. I just got my first actual graded books that I ever submitted back. we did a cover for No Heroine that got like an early announcement release cover, and I sent a couple off to get graded. They came out back 9/8, and they sold for a ton of money already. So making comics is awesome. It's super lucrative. Everyone should do it.
Especially right now.
Hell yeah. Now's the time to get in, honestly. Like when everybody's paying attention to indie creators, like, because they're the only ones with product right now. Like imagine if like the healthcare market dropped and then all the drug dealers were the only people who could like get you like your insulin. Like that's what this scenario is.
What's like strategy going forward then? What are you guys doing?
So there's not like a lot of guidance from Diamond right now, which, you know, a lot of people are kind of pissed off about. I'm not really holding against them because I can't imagine like what it's like logistically to figure out the situation. Could be one of the issues with the monopoly. I don't know, but essentially like the marching orders are sort of proceed as normal until we hear otherwise. So No Heroine is in the April catalog issue 1, and I'm talking to comic shops about them, you know, and a lot of them are still planning to pre-order because the book comes out in June, and like we don't know what June's going to look like. So yeah, it's kind of like day by day, but so far it's just kind of like, you know, toe the line and keep going.
Yeah, well, good luck, man. We'll hopefully see what happens. You guys think considering like digital releases at all? Is that a strategy plan?
It is one that would blow up in our faces. Like retailers are so pissed off about digital ideas right now. Like, I mean, so Comic Hub, which is a really great service that a lot of shops use and a lot more should be using for pre-orders and pre-order management. Like it lets people do it from home and pay from home, which is like a nice way to not have to have people coming into the shop all the time necessarily. If you guys don't know about it, you should definitely check it out. But they had gotten some publishers on board to do like a digital first where you would pay for the digital book and it'd be like a placeholder. So that way you could pick up your physical book when like books are finally released. And retailers just like, they were not happy about it at all. Cause you know, it's hard because retailers don't want to promote sort of cross-channel conversion. Like they don't want to convert hard copy readers to digital readers because then that, you know, the brick and mortar stores lose. And it's a tough situation and not everybody was happy with it and not everybody was against it. Like, so the thing that sort of like is important to realize about comic shops is like, it's not like a McDonald's chain. Like it's not like all comic shops operate the same way. It's 3,000 mom and pop shops that each have their own way of doing things, their own products that work for them and their own sort of like philosophies about how comics should be sold. And trying to find like a one size fit all solution it's not possible. And like, that's what people are still trying to do. What they need to do is sort of figure out tiers of shops, like, you know, kind of profile group the shops into certain types and figure out what the solution for that type of shop is. Like, because there's back issue shops, like shops that don't have new product and they're doing fine. Like they have their product. They don't need new product. So they don't need to be stimulated or stimulated, get stimulus, like a shop that relies entirely on new books does.
And those kind of shops are very far and few. The ones that rely on back issues.
There are not many anymore, and they're mostly on the East Coast.
First, let's acknowledge Mac Haven. Thank you for the super chat.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hopefully, everyone is healthy and safe. So far, so good. So can you give us a synopsis or an idea of what No Heroine's about?
Yeah. So think like Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Tank Girl. It's about a young woman who fights monsters, and she's like just a brutal sort of punk rock type of person. Like the story itself is really about the character Kayla, and she's a recovering addict, and she sort of is trying to sort of figure out life and like make amends for all the harm she caused when she was a junkie, and kind of not doing a very good job of it, kind of making things worse by trying. So she has really good intentions, but like she's doing everything for the wrong reasons, and it's pretty like it's pretty gray area, honestly. Like in pop culture, we kind of see two depictions of addiction. Sort of like on the far side, you've got these like overly villainized views of addiction where people are, you know, these monsters and they don't care about who they hurt, and it's just about getting high to them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got this kind of take on them that they're these helpless people who, you know, need to be sympathized with and can't do anything for themselves because they have a disease. And, you know, I think I talked about this last time I was on. Like, I grew up with two parents who had addiction problems, and like just seeing it up close and personal. Like, I know that it's so much more nuanced and complex than that. So I wanted to write a book that kind of dug into like what that gray area looks like. You know, it's okay to recognize somebody for having a problem and still love them and want them to do better, but also not, you know, throw out all of the terrible stuff they've done. Like, it really is a complex conversation, and it's one that I think affects a lot more people than we'll ever know. Like, I've done this interview, I think 50 times since January. And I think this is interview number 50, talking about this book. And I'd say conservatively, like 7 in 10 times, like somebody who was interviewing me said they either themselves had firsthand experience with addiction or somebody within 1 degree of separation of them had experience.
Here, dude.
Yeah. And this is something we don't talk about like very publicly. And that's something like I wanted to kind of like add to the conversation, sort of, and explore my own history with, you know, having people like that in my life. But I also wanted to tell like a Buffy homage. Like, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was probably my first, you know, sort of like genre story love after that wasn't a cartoon. And I, you know, probably won't ever get to write Buffy. Only a handful of people do. So I was like, I'll just do my own.
That is great to know, especially about the way you're going about the portrayal of addiction, because that obviously speaks to me as an alcoholic. Somehow I will have 12 years in May if I can keep it together till May. But it is definitely a daily struggle, and I completely understand everything you're talking about. And I understand the gray area, and I understand how people see it on the black and white side too. And so it sounds like it's a conversation that will be well covered in your book, and fairly too.
I hope so. I you know, the people who have read it so far have said that it spoke to them and it felt genuine. So I'm hoping that everyone has that experience, of course.
And for those who don't know Dead End Kids, can you, the hot comic of last year, the #1 eBay seller, can you give us a rundown on Dead End Kids?
Yeah. I've given this about 1 million times now, so it's like an autopilot. Dead End Kids is like, think Stand By Me meets the Hardy Boys. It's you know, it's a murder mystery about kids trying to solve their friend's murder, and it's set in the 90s. So it's yeah, like I said, it's a 90s set murder mystery with kids. But sort of, again, like at the core of the book, it's less about the murder mystery and more about sort of like exploring like childhood trauma, like the sort of fucked up things that happened to us as kids that were not like built at the time and don't have the tools for to sort of deal with, and sort of looking at whether that determines like if you end up becoming a bad or good person, or if you can do anything about it. And you know, the main character Murphy is he's an orphan. He's adopted by a family. His parents have passed away, and he's found this group of kids that he's really connected with, and he's found some stability. And then one of them is murdered, and like it kind of sends him off the deep end trying to solve this murder, and it gets pretty dark pretty fast. You know, it's again, like I think that more people than we realize have traumatic childhood experiences. You know, and it doesn't have to be your friend getting murdered. It could be, you know, just seeing your parents fight, like, you know, depending on how bad that can get, or going through a divorce, or losing a parent when you're very young, or, I mean, like, they're like the really far extremes of things, like, you know, it's people get abused or you know, sexually assaulted as children, like stuff like that. And on some level, I think most people have some sort of childhood trauma that they've dealt with or haven't dealt with, and it's always kind of pissed me off that that's the case, and we still look back on childhood as like these golden years, like sort of rose-colored lenses, like these are the best years of our lives. And like I know firsthand that they aren't. And it's, you know, I have problems today, and I had problems then, and you know, I feel like I'm in a better place to deal with my problems now. Back then, I was like helpless, and like I can't imagine how anyone really if they thought about it, could look back and be like, those are the best years. I don't know. That might be a little dark. That might just be me, but I think that there's a habit of romanticizing childhood that maybe isn't healthy, and I wanted to kind of look at that, but also tell like a cool murder mystery story, kill some kids.
Well, I can identify with that too. So I definitely can identify with that. So that's a book that I'm looking forward to finally reading. What were your personal feelings when you saw that the book was so hot, like Gabe was saying on eBay? That must have been a great deal of excitement for you that so many people were flocking to it.
It was very cool, but very quickly became kind of terrifying. So like the sort of timeline was the book was supposed to come out in the middle of July and got delayed a couple weeks, and then got delayed a couple more weeks, so that issues 1 and 2 came out 2 weeks apart in August. And between like FOC final order cutoff and like when the book was supposed to come out, and then between that and when the book finally did come out, like that's kind of when eBay went nuts. And like the orders kept coming. Like I think we ended up selling 7,000 copies of #1 altogether. But like the day the book came out, I'm on the West Coast, so like 8 o'clock my time is 11 o'clock East Coast time when shops tend to open. At like 8:01 my time, I started getting calls from retailers like asking if I can get more copies. And yeah, and for people who don't know what the chain of distribution is, there's no spot in it for the creator. Like I don't have any control over that. I don't do any, like once the book is done being written and like sent to the printer, like I'm out of the picture. So it was like, you know, the people were asking the wrong person for this book. And like at one point, like it was every day for like 6 or 7 weeks, like pretty much up until the 3rd issue came out. I had a retailer call me every day. I had one retailer call me every day, like to the point of like near harassment. It was pretty wild. Like, but on the other hand, like it was very cool to see people take to the book really well. It did really well with speculators, which, you know, I don't have any personal feelings about, you know, their role in the comics community. But like what was cool to see was I got to sort of like connect with some of the like the influencer type people in that space. And they were telling me like, yeah, #1 did really well, and that's great for a book. But what they were seeing was a lot of their guys, like their regular guys that they keep tabs on, like we're going back for #2 and #3 because they like the story, and that's very atypical. Like collectors and then resellers don't usually even read the book when they buy it; they just want to flip it. So like, I mean, it was really gratifying to see like people connect with the story and like dig it, and like that's all I really care about. Like, you know, like I continuously try to make it clear that like I don't do this to make money, which is an insane thing to try and do anyway, because comics, there's no money. But I really just care about people reading the story, and like that many people wanted to read the story was cool.
Nice. We do have one question. Everybody loves the backdrop of your books, and they want to know what shelves you're using for your books.
These are the Skinny Billies from IKEA. So I think they're 18 inches wide or 16 inches wide. I like that they're a little more sturdy in the shelf. They don't bow as much because they're not as wide. And they're a little more versatile. Like you can wrap them around a corner and not lose too much space and stuff like that. Yeah. There are 7 of them behind me. You can't see all of them. And then there are 5 in front of me on the other wall.
Nice.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, I jumped onto trades about 4 years ago because I sold my Omnibus collection to pay for Grief to get made. So like, you know, you guys have been with me from the start, the Omnibus community. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now if like you guys didn't buy up my books and give me the money to make that, you know, comic.
Well, that was a great comic. I love Grief.
Yeah. I miss it. I miss selling it. It's been sold out since July.
Oh man, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So depending on if the world like doesn't end, it should get a reprint over the summer. We have the files ready to go to the printer and everything. I think the solicit was supposed to be in June. So we'll see.
A reprint, that's got to be gratifying.
It's super exciting because you guys have read it, or I know at least you have, Jess. It is a weird book. It's an anthology, which most people don't dig. It's it deals with like really heavy topics, like which not everybody wants to read about. And I think we sold like 4,000 copies of it. And like, you know, it got nominated for a Ringo Award last year, which is like an industry top 3 award. So like it's very cool to see that book do so well, considering like what it is and what it deals with. Like it's a very atypical comic.
Yeah.
Seems to be a trend with you with the atypical reactions to these kind of books that you got going on.
I mean, maybe this is what people wanted. Like I'm honestly like not trying to make a comic that people like. I'm just trying to make a comic I wish existed every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted like when I was a kid growing up, like I read comics. I think I got my first comic in 1997, and like it was escapism for me. Like things weren't great at home, so I used it to kind of duck out and like get escape for a while. But I always felt like I couldn't like connect with the characters. Like, you know, Bruce Wayne's a billionaire. He doesn't have any real problems. Superman's perfect. Even Spider-Man by then, like the kind of Stan Lee, you know, writing charm of him always struggling had kind of worn off. So like when I started making comics, like one of the things I set out for myself was like I was going to make comics that I wish existed. And if I at 10 years old or 15 years old could have had a book like Grief where like I saw people dealing with real shit and struggling and kind of getting through it and having a little hope at the end of it, like that would have been something really cool to have. So that's just, you know, I set out to make that book a reality. And I think that maybe a lot more people wanted that book than I had realized or wanted a book like it.
Definitely.
That's the way to do it, man. Just go a different way than other people are going. You know, make something that you want to buy, that you want to read.
Write what you want to write.
Yeah.
And hopefully it does inspire a next generation of readers because they'll see that book on the shelf and be able to pick it up.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said I love selling it. Like I honestly at cons, I probably give it away just as much as I sell it because I just want people to read comics. And that book is interesting because it brings in a different demographic that like at the Source Point Press booth, we have a lot of horror and sci-fi books and like some fantasy and stuff like that, kind of like non-superhero books. And Grief is definitely a different book, but the people who buy it tend to be sort of non-traditional comics readers, like women, not to profile anyone, but women really gravitate towards the cover and pick it up. And, you know, when I tell them what it's about, they tend to like it. We get a lot of therapists and social workers who come by and will pick it up. Librarians are like extra excited about it. So like, I think that it definitely, of all the things I've written, has the most potential to be like a gateway book for non-comics readers, which I think there definitely need to be more of. And I'm super happy that DC is doing a lot of young reader stuff now, because you know this market doesn't get very big and it doesn't grow very much.
Mm-hmm.
It shrinks more than it grows.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And unfortunately, the publishers that have the power to do the most about it are more interested in squeezing more money out of the existing base than trying to grow the base. Which, yeah, whatever. It's business. Like I don't feel two ways about it, but like, yeah, for me, I would like to see the market grow.
How long have you been working on No Heroine for? When did you first sit down and start typing that out?
So this is like a little bit revealing about how comics work, but I wrote the first issue of No Heroine before I wrote Dead End Kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Grief came out in print at C2E2 in April. You were there.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. So it came out in April. The next month in May, I did a show in like outside of Philly, Great Philadelphia Comic Con. And my buddy Chris Mad, who did the covers for Dead End Kids, was there, and he was tabling, and we were getting drinks after the show. And Chris and I, we go way back. We used to share a comic shop when I lived in New Jersey, and like, you know, we were both kind of Wednesday warriors. We both go get our books first thing in the morning on Wednesdays, and sort of hang around the shop for an hour or so. So we were friends. And like when I started making comics, like, and he was a comic artist like before I started writing. So we were having these drinks on the Saturday night at the show, and he was like, "Hey man, like if you ever want to do a book, like, you know, I feel like we could do something pretty cool. Like, you know, if you ever have anything, let me know." And the sort of standard answer that artists and writers give each other is like, "Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, if something comes up, because like comics are really expensive, they take a lot of time, and you only get to make so many. So everyone would like to work with everyone." So I gave Chris kind of the boilerplate. I was like, yeah, dude, I really do love his art, but I didn't have anything, and I knew I was getting ready to write Dead End Kids. So I said, you know, yeah, let's talk. Like if I come up with something, let's do it. So the show finished up, and I got on the plane at Philadelphia Airport, got in the air for 6 hours, and when I got off the plane at SFO 6 hours later, I'd written pretty much the whole first script. It kind of poured out of me. And it was like a few things kind of coming together. Like I knew that I wanted to tell a Buffy story. Like I just always knew in my bones that like that was something I wanted to tackle. I knew I also wanted to tackle a story that dealt with addiction. It wasn't necessarily this story, but I thought that that was a topic that was worth exploring and having a conversation about. And then I love Chris's art, and he's got like a really good style for horror and action. It's very dynamic and kind of frantic. It's very different than Dead End Kids was. But also knowing about Chris, and he's been open about this, so I don't mind sharing a little bit about it. Chris struggled with addiction early in his life, and making comics and doing art was part of how he was able to clean himself up, and he's been clean for 20 years now.
Wow.
Like just all those things kind of came together, and like this story like kind of poured out of me. So that's kind of like where the story came from and like how I ended up writing it. But like then I wrote Dead End Kids, and last year was like a big year, and like everything kind of moved to the back burner. And originally No Heroine was going to be a one shot because I didn't think I'd have time to like go back and tackle it. And then after Dead End Kids came out, after number 2 came out, I wrote the scripts for the rest of the series of No Heroine, and we've been chipping away at it ever since. But yeah, so it's sort of kind of happened out of order.
Well, that's great, man. It's good to see that you got things in, you got many rods in the fire. You got a lot going on too. So
yeah, there's another big one that I've been talking a little bit about coming at the end of the year. If the world doesn't end.
Yeah.
But Dead End Kids 2 is going to come out in November.
Nice. I see that you got a Ben Templesmith to do a cover for No Heroine.
So a retailer last year had Ben do a cover for Dead End Kids, Anomaly Comics, which I think is now Hive Comics. But they had Ben do a really cool cover for for Dead End Kids. And I was able to sort of meet him through that experience. And like we got to be buddies when I was down in Houston for Comic Palooza last year. We had drinks and we hung out all night. Like he's a really good guy, super funny, and super talented. So when I knew I was doing a vampire book, I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey man, you're the vampire guy. Like let's do this. Like there's no reason not to." And I had like I had a gut feeling that he'd be like, "I'm tired of drawing fucking vampires." No. But no, he was super gracious, and like just like he didn't even respond to the email to say yes. He just did it and then sent it to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, he didn't like do the whole, he did like the thumbnails, like with the different variations he was thinking of, but like he essentially said yes and started work before like I even knew he was on board. And he's cool. He's a good guy. That cover is it's a retailer incentive cover. So it's 1 in 5. So any retailer who orders 5 copies of No Heroine #1 can get that copy or a copy of the variant. And it's, as many as you want. So if you buy 100 copies of No Heroine #1, you can get 20 copies of the Templesmith cover. And like this was something I wanted to do for retailers because I think I wouldn't be here without the retailers. Like they're the ones who ordered the books. And they're the ones who ordered 7,000 copies of Dead End Kids. Like I'm sure some of those were pre-orders, but most of it was shops taking a chance on me. Like somebody they'd never heard of on a book from a smaller publisher. Like it was a gamble. And I really appreciated that and them pushing the book so hard on people. And I wanted to do something to kind of help them out, bring a little more money into their stores, help them out on their eBay stores, whatever. So I was like, let's do an incentive. And like some publishers have a habit of like abusing incentives. Like, a 1 in 6,000 incentive. It means you have to buy 6,000 copies of the book, and no one's going to sell 6,000 copies of any book. Like it's just, that's abuse. But I was able to work with Diamond to make sure that the threshold on this was super low. So it's 1 in 5. I think most shops who are going to order the book will order 5 either way. So this was a nice way to say thanks.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be ordering enough to get a couple of those Ben Templesmith covers. So
that's a great idea, and it's great that you're friends with such a famous artist that he would do that for you.
Yeah, I'm reading Lock and Key right now, and I just finished the first volume. And like, there's a 30 Days of Night poster in one of the bedrooms in the house.
Nice.
And Like, I mean, this guy is like so out of my league that like other much more famous artists than me are like homaging him in their books. And like, he's just like, he's British. So he's just like, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. Just pay me whatever you want. I mean, he's insane, like in the best way. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun working with him, and he did a really good job. Like, I love his art, and like I love how it's sort of evolved over time. It's a little less gritty these days and a little more kind of round, and it looks really good. And that cover like really kind of captures all of his different skills. There's a lot of really good lighting stuff in it, and it's brown, which like you don't see a lot of brown comic covers. Brown's kind of an ugly color, and he made it look awesome.
Is he still always wearing suits? Every time I met him, he's always had a suit on.
I think he's a little less formal these days. I didn't meet him in person till last year, but he's been. I mean, he definitely wears a blazer for sure. Like he has like that con persona that some people do, but he's a pretty professional guy, so it makes sense.
Cool. Okay. What else are you working on? You got anything else kind of cooking?
So I've got like a roadmap for pretty much through 2023 of all the stuff that I want to work on and that I'll release, God willing. So Dead End Kids 2 I mentioned is it's written. I'm revising the scripts now, and it's going to start production on art at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, depending on how fast I finish revising. That one I'm pretty excited about that too. I can't say a whole lot about it because we're still kind of working out the kinks.
Right.
But the sort of high level pitch of it is we're taking sort of a True Detective approach to it. So it's going to be a new set of kids in a different place with in a different time period, but it's still going to be a sort of childhood trauma book about crime. So this one is going to be set in 2008, and it's going to follow 3 kids who are the children or relatives of people who died on or because of 9/11. Sort of how that's impacted their lives. But it's also going to be a heist book.
Oh man, you're mixing it up. I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I got the whole team is back. Everyone agreed to come back and is gonna do it. And we're like I said, we're shooting for November on the first issue. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, hopefully things are in place well before that.
Yeah, I hope so. And I don't want to say anything that would spoil the book, but I can tell you that when number 4 of volume 2 comes out, number 1 of volume 1 is going to heat back up.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. It's connected a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
David Codd says, whoops. Facebook user says, Frank, a hero of the people.
Thank you, Facebook user.
Heist book. Son of a bitch, I'm in.
So I watch Rick and Morty too, and I told my wife that was where I got the idea, and I convinced her that was something that like they actually do say in all the heist movies, and it's not. But she like really believes it, and won't. Like, she's like, are you gonna put that in the book? I'm like, no. Yeah, I'm excited though. I honestly think it's a better story than Dead End Kids 1 was, and it's 4 issues, so it's gonna have a little more room to breathe and take a little closer look at the characters. And like the set of characters is I'm most excited for them. One of my I won't say regrets, but something that I wish I could have done differently with Dead End Kids, and I honestly didn't realize at the time I was doing it, was the cast is just, it's all white, like they're just a bunch of white kids. And I was at a con with my buddy Nolan, who works with SourcePoint Press's sister company, Deepwater Games, and he was like one of the biggest fans of the book. Like he put it in everyone's hands. He loves it, and he's a good friend of mine. And we were talking, and he was like, you know, I love this book so much. Like I really do. It's my favorite book of 2019. It's definitely in my top 10. But I just wish I could relate to the characters a little more. And I sort of tried to dig into that. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm Lebanese, and like these are just a bunch of white kids. And like it's, you know, that would have been just a little, you know, seeing somebody who wasn't white, even if it wasn't a Lebanese person, would have made it so that I could, you know, connect a little more. And I took that to heart because it wasn't intentional. I was just kind of drawing on my childhood, and I kind of let Nanad, you know, design the characters he wanted to design. And he's in Serbia, which I don't think is an incredibly diverse place. So it just kind of ended up that way through circumstance. So this cast has a young Puerto Rican girl, a Muslim girl, and a very Italian young man. I'll leave it at that. But it's been a lot of fun to tackle these characters, and Nolan is helping me with writing the Muslim girl, and Ahmed Rafet, who's doing the covers for No Heroine, for a lot of his life was a practicing Muslim, so he's been helping. And it's just been a really cool learning experience, kind of broadening my horizons about other cultures and making sure that the books are authentic. We did the same thing with No Heroine. Kayla is a Puerto Rican woman, so a friend of mine from college, Mariana, has been helping me to make sure that the Spanish is accurate and that the cultural portrayal is good. And these are the kinds of things that I think are really important in comics right now, and that I think help grow the market, like we were talking about. People seeing people who are similar to them makes them connect with the characters more. So while I'm really glad that Dead End Kids did really well and that a lot of people loved the story and connected with it, I'd like to see those same people and a new group of people come back for number 2.
Good. Well, we have a couple questions in the chat. From Iman, we have, are there any comics that inspire you in your writing?
Definitely. I think The Crow is probably one of the biggest inspirations for me. I don't think it's the greatest book of all time by any means, but it's a very near and dear book to me. And I think a lot of people kind of miss the point. Like, everyone's like, oh, look at this cool action book, and it's about people come back from the dead. It is a love story. It is a romance. It is about a man who loved a woman so much that he came back to the dead to avenge her. I mean, and that, I think, is a very cool thing to have wrapped up in this hyper violent book. And I like that complexity sort of under the surface, and that really kind of inspires a lot of what I do. Like, I really want to make my stuff character first, and give these people a realness to them, and then wrap that up in a crime story or a vampire hunter story or a heist book. And I think that The Crow is wildly appreciated, but I don't know that everyone gets the point of it. Another book is Kabuki by David Mack, which also came from Caliber in the early 90s. And David, one of my favorite artists. I love watercolors. I'm pretty atypical in the art I like, honestly. That book is just, it's a cool cyberpunk book set in Japan in the near future, but it's also a book that's about sort of intergenerational trauma from mother to daughter, and there's some really cool stuff with the art and transitions in there. It's definitely a masterpiece that most people don't appreciate. And then there's another book. This one I'm a little hesitant to say that I love it anymore, but it is. I can't deny that as a book that inspired me. It's a Demo by Brian Wood and Becky Cloonan. It's a great book, but some of the creators involved have been less than great. So like I said, I'm a little hesitant to say I think everyone should check it out, but they should buy it used, so that way the money doesn't cycle up.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But you can definitely see the influence from that book in Grief. Demo is 10 or 12 one shots about sort of ordinary life with a dash of superpowers. It's very slice of life with an element of the unrealistic, and that's pretty much what Grief is. It's 10 short stories that are horror and sci-fi stories and alien and monsters and superheroes, but it's really about what the people in the stories are going through, and that was a huge influence for me. I'd also say pretty much anything Jonathan Hickman has ever touched. You can see on the covers of all my books, there's a strong element of design to every cover and to each series, and that's something I'm very conscious of. I like comics that feel packaged and have a visual through line from cover to cover. And you saw that in Grief with the chapter pages and the covers, and in Dead End Kids, the back covers and the front covers matched and they were designed. No Heroine's going to be the same way. Jonathan Hickman's definitely a big one for me, and Rick Remender for 100 million reasons that I could talk about all day.
Okay, great answer. Here's another question from Sergio.
What's up, Sergio?
What DC character would you like to write if you had the chance?
This is something I think about every minute of every day because I feel like I'm right on that cusp of like those doors starting to open. I did, because of Dead End Kids last year, have the opportunity to talk to Marvel a little bit. It hasn't gone anywhere yet, and I'm not, there's no ink on any contracts or anything. But yeah, if I keep putting out good books, and I feel like it's only a matter of time. So, but for DC, like I didn't grow up a DC guy really. Like I started reading DC like around the time New 52 came, because it was a good jumping on point. Like even if it wasn't great, like it opened the door for me. If I can't pick a DC character, but if I could pick
a Marvel character.
Well, I was gonna say like if I was gonna do a book for the big two, like I'd want to do like a C-list or D-list character and like do something really cool with them. Like I think of like Vision from Tom King and the Elektra series that came out a couple years ago. I think it was Hayden Blackman did the art or the writing. But like these like not flagship characters where you can do something a little more experimental and like something with more of an indie feel, like something that would be more in my wheelhouse and where I'd have, I wouldn't have to like worry about tying into an event or something. Yeah, I mean, that would be what I want to like, get my feet wet with if I did a big two book, just so like the pressure was off and I could, for lack of a better way of saying it, like kind of tell the story I want to tell, within reason. Like, you get on Spider-Man and like every 6 months you got to tie into Absolute Carnage and then Empire and then Civil War 3 and so on and so forth. And there's also like an expectation of sales at that level. Like, at the end of the day, Marvel and DC are businesses first and the characters come second. And that's the reality of making comics. And I don't mind it, but I'm conscious of it. And I don't want to get put on, Superman and have people need to buy like 100,000 copies of it to validate me being on the book and my continued existence on the book. I'd also want to do something limited. Nothing more than like 6 issues, just because like I feel like that's a lot of pressure, and yeah, I'm all about like taking my time and building it up like muscles. Like I always use the weightlifting metaphor for writing. Like you want to bench 200 pounds, but you can't start with 200 pounds. You got to start with 5-pound weights and then 10-pound weights and build your way up. So I started with short stories and grief, and then I moved on to my mini series, and it's been a progression. And I wouldn't want to jump into a new type of writing with new expectations and then commit to like something that's like 24 issues and not be able to deliver because I've never done something like that. But since somebody asked about characters, at Marvel, there are 3 characters that I would like to tackle and that I have cool pitches for. Iron Fist is one of them. Hawkeye is one of them. And I think that's like, imagine like the Dark Knight Returns for Hawkeye. And then Black Panther, but I would only want to do a one-shot on Black Panther. Like I feel like I'd love to tell a story with the character, but I wouldn't want to take that opportunity away from somebody else who could tell a better, more authentic version of that story. I think that's important to me as a reader, that the stories be authentic. But I would love to tackle like a Black Panther Civil War 3 tie-in one-shot or something like that someday. And then at DC, I guess like I definitely wouldn't want to write Batman. I feel like there's just too much expectation there. Like, no, I don't think we're ever going to see another great Batman story that everyone loves. And like, that's too much pressure. I like the Teen Titans. Like, I feel like they're kind of like the Power Rangers of the DC universe. So I could take a shot at them. Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles are my 2 babies. Those are the ones that I would like to write that aren't Marvel and DC. Keep buying my books so I can.
Well, we'll do our part for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for my channel, and I just got done with the IDW book 4.
Oh, nice.
And that is a great series. I can't wait to read volume 5. I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, I think what just I think volume 10 just came out, or 9. It stays good like throughout the whole run, and it's still good. This is how good it is. Like I have a trade collection now because I sold my omnibuses. I only collect 2 series in hardcover, and Ninja Turtles is one of them. Like because it's that good.
Yeah, I wasn't even a fan, and Tyler Blunt and Tyler got me into it to review for my channel, and number 4 just was unbelievably great, and I just am all in now. I was never a Turtles fan before, but I'm all in now. I actually
Is that City Fall?
Be on that book first.
Which one?
Geo, are you there? Geo looks like he froze.
Geo
book first.
Well, you
yeah,
should.
Geo mentioned that book a long time ago. Me and Geo were talking about that book for a while.
Yeah, I think that Geo's the one that got me to read it on a. We did an episode on trying to convince each other to read each other's favorite books. I think TMNT was one of them, and Geo got me into it.
Yeah, it's super good. Is the fourth volume is City Fall, right?
It's when they go to April's parents' house.
Oh, okay. It's right after that.
Okay.
That's like the Westchester arc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. One of my favorite characters shows up in that. Koya. She's top 5 characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm really digging. Geo signed off, so he must be signing back on. So that's cool. Either Geo froze or he's winning the staring contest.
He's winning.
He froze. He doesn't have the 100% best connection in Puerto Rico, unfortunately. And I don't think I was a turtle hater, Jesse. Say what? I just wasn't a turtle lover like I am now. Everybody thinks I hate things.
There's gonna be a YouTube commenter pretty soon that's gonna be just hates the Turtles. Same way he just hates 90s comics.
Yeah. Gio, were you the one that got me into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, we did the episode on convincing each other to read stuff, I think.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah, I've actually been rereading it, which is a pretty big undertaking. But IDW has a board games division, and they do a Ninja Turtle sort of dungeon crawler minifigure game that I've got. And they've been sort of adapting the storylines for each expansion, and it's a cool experience to play the stories out. So anyone on listening who's a board game person, definitely worth checking out.
I've been hearing nothing but good stuff about that book, especially the current stuff that Sophie Campbell is writing and drawing.
Yeah. I mean, the arc that ended right before Sophie took over, I think it's called City at War. It was epic. Like it was the crossover event that like I wish Big Two Books would be like, and it was self-contained to just the main title for I think 6 or 7 issues, and it was amazing. So many plot threads come to a head. Huge cast. Yeah, I mean it's great. The series is great, and they just announced, I think yesterday or the day before, that the series is on hold right now. That they told Sophie pencils down, which is too bad. But I'm sure it'll come back, and I'm not too worried about it. But like that's the book. It's one of the books I read first every week when I get my full list.
What's your favorite Turtles movie?
Either the first one or Secret of the second one. Like it's hard to choose one. I think the second one is my favorite. It's because it's first anythings are always kind of a bitch because you have to introduce the characters and build out the world, and like it's less about the story. The second one, like you know who the characters are, you know who April is, you know what their world is like, and like it gets turned upside down. And as much as they aren't Bebop and Rocksteady, I think Tonka and Raza are like really great fucking scary mutants.
And I loved Kino. I always had a Kino the kid I wanted to be when I was a little kid.
Well, Kino's great because he's like that point of view character for like the regular person. Like he's in their world for the first time, just kind of like we are, and like that's really cool. Like you remember the second issue of Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman, where we got like the tour of Battle World through the eyes of like the new Thor recruit. I mean, like, that's just like that. Yeah, it's a way to do exposition without like making it heavy-handed. It's I love Kino.
You're explaining there without it just being just text-heavy explanation.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's Super Shredder is just an incredible over-the-top 90s bit that is I'll never not love. And Vanilla Ice.
And Vanilla Ice. Yeah, you can't forget that part.
Yep.
I would definitely 2 of the best comic book adaptation movies, and they don't get credit for being comic book adaptations.
No. The first one's great though. I love the first one still. The
Yeah.
first one really holds up.
You know, I watched it a couple nights ago with my wife. She had never seen them, and you know what? It's kind of weird, like watching it now, because like there's big panning shots of the Twin Towers in like the opening sequence, but it's also cool to see like early 90s New York, like because you go to New York now and it's very clean and it's not like the hustle bustle city that like it is known in pop culture for, and like it's like a weird like way to look back and see like what that was like the dirty, fast-paced New York, like before like technology and like when there were a million cabs on the road. Like it's like traveling through time, and I love it. Ghostbusters is the same way.
Okay, what's the name of these two movies then? It sounds like I need to watch them. These
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh, okay.
They're both on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't watch 3.
No, don't.
I mean, if you're bored, 3 is not the worst thing that you'll ever see, but it's not even close to the first 2.
But you should watch the CGI TMNT movie.
Yeah, that wasn't bad either.
Yeah, that's my absolute favorite one, I would have to say.
When was that released?
2003 or 9, a while ago.
Yeah.
Ninja Rap.
Yeah.
Frank, any favorite movies or shows that shaped you as a writer? Also from Sergio.
That's a good one. I mean, definitely The Departed. I think that is just one of the most wonderfully complex movies ever made. I know it's a remake of a Chinese film, and I don't want to say it's better or worse, but I definitely appreciate like everything it's able to accomplish. Every time I watch it, I see something new, and like it takes it a step. Like, I mean, I'd say that's like the Alan Moore Watchmen of movies in a lot of ways. That might be extreme for some people, but that's really how I feel about it. I'm trying to think what else. Buffy the Vampire Slayer from TV is a big one for me. I mean, and as for people who check out No Heroine, you will see that 100%. Like it's a love letter for sure. Power Rangers, as dopey and hokey as it is, I kind of feel in a lot of ways like it's kind of my generation Star Wars, and not really recognized as it, but it's this really weird blend of sci-fi and mysticism and like wizardry, and like it. I mean, you can't deny a franchise that's been around for 28 years, like, and is still chugging along. Like there's something to it. To call it Star Wars is probably extreme, but
it had a little bit of everything, even freaking mech battles and giant monsters. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like structurally and functionally, it shouldn't work at all. I mean, it's like 5 different genres mashed together, and it works. Like I'm rewatching the 14th or 15th season Operation Overdrive right now, and like it's just. And that's the cool thing about the season. Like each one has like a different thing. Like this one's a treasure hunting theme. Like so, like now there's treasure hunting mythology in there, and like you get a little Indiana Jones flavor. So I think it's an underappreciated franchise, honestly. And the books are fantastic. I mean, I know that some of you guys have probably read them, and they're just a killer.
I've read the first 2 Power Ranger Deluxes, whatever they're called. I did that review with Tyler Blunt. What are those books?
Yeah, there's Year 1 and Year 2.
The big giant ones.
Yeah, they're called Year 1 and Year 2.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed those, and I need to read 3, which is something Grid.
Shattered Grid, yeah.
Shattered Grid.
That's sort of like the culmination of the first 2 books. Like it's a big event series that it's pretty wild. Yeah,
people feel like I need more of an education on your generation's childhood cartoons and reads, and so I'm constantly getting, and I appreciate it, suggestions on stuff to read, because Power Rangers and Mutant Turtles would not be normally on my reading list, and it's really been good that I've been able to read them. So at least I can talk about them and know what you guys are talking about. And they're good books. I enjoy them. Yeah,
no, those are my 2 favorite books coming out right now. 100%.
Okay. Sergio says Infernal Affairs was the original from Asia.
Okay, I'll check that out, Sergio.
Infernal Affairs.
Is it infernal or internal?
I think it's internal.
Yeah.
Infernal?
Because infernal, that might be something going on in hell. I don't know.
That's like the porn parody that's set in hell.
Okay, Internal Affairs.
Nice.
Okay, well, do we have any other questions in the chat for Frank while we have him?
Ask me anything about anything. Doesn't matter how personal.
What about vampire films? Since I have you sent me a copy of No Heroine, and it's all like you said, very Buffy vampire slayer with you know the heroin addiction Tyler character. What about vampire films? What kind of vampire films are you into?
Wait a sec. The chat is adamant that it's infernal.
What?
Okay.
Infernal. Japanese wordplay. Everybody's saying it's definitely infernal.
Are we getting punked? Is that what's happening? All right. So I will check out Infernal Affairs. Pineapple. You know what? I see pineapple on pizza as a question, and I'm going to say yes, but under certain circumstances. I would never get like the Hawaiian pie, and I certainly wouldn't get it from Domino's because that would just no.
I've never tried that.
I was at a convention in Las Vegas, and we were doing the strip after the show, me and a couple of people from Source Point, and we had some drinks, a couple, and we went to a pizza place and we ordered a pie, and it was, I shit you not, it was pineapple, mushroom, jalapeno, and extra cheese. And it sounds like it would be absolutely garbage. And it was probably the best slice of pizza I've ever had in my life. So under those circumstances, I will allow pineapple on a pizza and wholly encourage. Oh, and there's sausage. And I would encourage everyone to go eat that exact pizza like today. It'll change your life. Don't buy my book. Spend money on pizza.
Do you remember the name of the place?
It was the so it's a Chicago style pizza place. It's called Giordano's.
Oh yeah,
and they have one in Vegas. And I was in the mood for Chicago style.
Yeah.
So
I was there Valentine's Day. My wife and I went to Giordano's for Valentine's.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I didn't have Giordano's when I went to C2E2 this year because I figured after 4 years I should try something else. And I had garbage. Everything else was garbage.
And Lionheart wants to know who your favorite turtle is. His is Donatello.
A man of great taste. Thank you, Lionheart. He's my favorite too.
This guy, right?
Raphael, that's the man.
Growing up, I was a big Michelangelo fan because I thought he was funny and dopey, and I was like, this is the cool one. He has a skateboard. But now Raphael he's the loner. He's got an attitude problem. And honestly, of the characters, he's the most interesting because he makes mistakes. Like he's hot-headed and he fucks things up. Donatello doesn't really like make mistakes. Leonardo's pretty much Captain America, and Michelangelo is dopey. So yeah, of the four, he's far and away the most interesting.
He's also the protector of the family.
Yeah, and he's also got a doppelganger who's human. Casey Jones is literally the same character, but as a human. And watching them play off of each other is a lot of fun in the books.
Yep.
You get a lot of that in the TMNT, the CGI movie I was talking about.
Yeah.
You get a really good look into Raphael's personality. All the turtles actually, but it's really a Raphael kind of thing.
Yeah, the newer ones focused really heavily on him too, but in like a bad way. The Michael Bay series. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't watch those. Never watch those. Unless you like product placement.
Have you eaten pizza at Escape from New York Pizza on Haight? I know you live in San Francisco now.
Yeah. So the answer is yes and no. I've had Escape from New York Pizza, but not from the Haight location. I worked in South Park until recently, the neighborhood of San Francisco. My company moved, but over in South Park, or just off of South Park, there is a Escape from New York location that I would go to every once in a while for lunch. It's one of the better pieces of pizza in San Francisco. There's not. I mean, being from New Jersey, being right outside New York and Philly, like I have a very specific standard for what good pizza is, and West Coast pizza is straight trash.
Now I want pizza.
Yeah, I want some pizza now too.
I always want. I can never get it. South Park.
Here's a good question. Since we have a shelfies portion, maybe Frank can share some titles in his collection in the background. I see a lot of epics, and it does seem more of a Marvel guy.
That's not accurate. The DC stuff is just lower.
Okay.
I am a Marvel guy for sure. So they get top billing. But so we got Marvel and then DC on the bottom, and then the bottommost shelf is stock of my own stuff. And then on the other side of the room where you guys can't see is indie and sort of like classics. So like Usagi, Sandman, Swamp Thing, American Vampire, Preacher, The Boys, Saga's over there, Why the Last Man, Invisibles, Kabuki, Sin City, and then a lot of Image stuff over here, Black Science, East of West, Fear Agent. So it's pretty. I read pretty much everything. I probably read about 30 single issues a week. Right now, I'm clocking in around 50. I'm home a lot more. I'm a fast reader, and it's part of what my strategy for making sure that I'm a viable writer for Big Two is to make sure that I'm up to date on all of their stuff. So I read a lot of comics I don't like, just to stay up to date with characters that could be potential jobs for me someday. I don't know if you guys know Brendan Fletcher. He does. I think he did Dinosaur Girl. No, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I think he did Motor Crush and a couple other books.
Yeah. He used to be an LCS owner or something, I think.
Yeah, I saw him on a panel like 4 years ago, like before he was doing like any of this stuff. And he was talking about like the first time Marvel called him to do work, and they wanted him. I think it was for a Hulk event. They wanted him to write a Korg short story for like an anthology one shot they were putting out. And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I love Korg. I'll do this, and I'll get right back to you." And then he hung up the phone. He's like, "Who the fuck is Korg?" And that's kind of the game like you have to play, because you never know. It's not about who you want to write; it's about who they need you to write. And so like I try to stay up to date with as much as I can. So I don't really get to read a lot of like backlog normally. But right now, like I have a lot more free time and no new books are coming out. So like I said, I read Sandman and Lock and Key and Hellboy for the first time, and finally digging into these classics that have been sitting on my shelf for a while.
With that many single issues, or do you have a LCS that you go to?
Yeah, I shop at Mission Comics here in the Mission.
Nice.
I live right outside the Mission, but yeah, I don't pull everything. I have access to a lot more comics than I used to. Just because I have a lot of friends in the industry, and because I used to review for a site who never stopped giving me access to their Dropbox. So I read a lot of the review PDFs and stuff that people have passed along to me to check out who create. But on my pull list, there are a decent amount of titles. It's mostly Marvel. Black Panther, Fantastic Four, Captain Marvel from my wife, but I've also been reading it. The Kelly Thompson stuff's pretty good. Power Rangers, Turtles. A lot of Image series, but they're starting to wind down a lot of them. Like Black Science was on there, East of West. Just started reading Decorum. So like I probably of the stuff I read, I pull like a third of it, and then the rest I read either as trade or as reviewer PDFs.
Cool.
Yeah, like I have pretty much full runs of whatever is available for like all the big Marvel characters. Like that the epics are filling in all the gaps, but like everything from like 2000 forward that's been collected and traded for every character I have. That's
nuts, man. That's great.
Yeah, I'm running out of space.
Yeah, that's always a problem. I'm in that same boat almost.
So am I. Sergio wonders who's your favorite writer and artist working right now.
Who is my favorite writer and artist? Writer kind of jumps around a bunch. I love Jeff Lemire like a lot. Rick Remender. I'll read anything that either one of them. I'll give everything they write a try. I don't always love everything. Nobody's perfect, but I really love them. In terms of artists, I love anything David Aja touches, like his Hawkeye run, his Immortal Iron Fist run. I was really excited about the Seeds over at Dark Horse that kind of fizzled out. But I like sort of simpler art styles that are kind of more expressive and sort of streamlined than like hyper detailed like Jim Lee style art. I mean, I like all the comic art, but like I'm David Aja, Andrea Sorrentino like has a really cool design sense to his work, and I appreciate that. Dave Mazzucchelli, Chris Somney, like, you know, kind of people who either have like a really sort of flatter kind of simple design style, or people who have like an incredible design focus. Liam Sharp is a really big exception for me, being very detailed, but he's also got like a great design sense. Like I love looking at Liam Sharp's pages. So like, yeah, any of those guys. I mean, there's really no comic art that I don't like. I think that it all has a place. And there are people who will love it regardless, as long as it's not like just like dumb bad art on purpose. But I mean, look at the Cyanide and Happiness guys. It's just stick figures and people love it. So
I love Cyanide and Happiness.
See? It's a wide range. So you can have Cyanide and Happiness and Da Vinci and like everything in between, and like it has a place.
Okay, that is a great answer. Well, we've had you on for over an hour now. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Do you watch South Park at all? Joe Chip wants to know.
I think that might actually be a question about South Park, where I used to work.
South Park, where you work.
Yeah. I do watch South Park, not regularly, but I have some very favorite episodes, and I think it's a brilliant show. But South Park is a neighborhood in San Francisco. It's the neighborhood that has the Giants baseball stadium in it.
Yeah, I've been there.
AT&T Park or whatever it's called now.
I think it's Oracle Park now.
Yeah, it's Oracle Park. It's my building was a block away, which was terrible because it also had the entrance to Route 80, which is the Bay Bridge to take you over to Oakland. So like on days where there was baseball and rush hour traffic, like I would walk the 3 miles home instead of like try to catch an Uber or find rent a bike or whatever. Like it's just, yeah, it's a cool little neighborhood though, and like it has a lot of fun little restaurants. My favorite ramen place in the city's over there, Lava Ramen or Lava Lounge, something like that. So yeah, if you're in the city, yeah, definitely go check out Lava. It's delicious.
Okay. How about what's your favorite dive bar in San Fran? Chest Rockwell wants to know.
You know, since I've gotten older, like I've started to drink less. Like I just there's so many hours in a day, and like drinking as I've gotten older started to take like a bigger toll. Like hangovers last longer, and then they come much more easily. Like, you know, it's like 2 drinks and like I'm out for like 12 hours the next day. Like just dying. But there's a bar down in like what is it called? The Marina area. I think it's between Cow Hollow and the Marina area for people who know the city. But it's called Reed and Greeno. And it's like a really nice kind of old feeling bar. They've got like live piano music, and they've also got like a full size billiards table and pool table, and like it's just like a good atmosphere. And like I enjoy going there because it's not super well like known, so people don't like, you know, crowd it all the time. But they also have a drink called Straw-Peño. It is a Peño margarita. I'm a big margarita guy, and I love spicy drinks, and I am not afraid to drink a pink one. So that's definitely a good place. There's another bar near there called the Final, and it's a sports bar, and it's like a traditional sports bar. I also like that for like when going to watch hockey and stuff.
Let's see. Does being a writer allow for more plausible stories when you make big hauls? Follow-up can just become a writer to use the same excuse.
So does being a writer, I don't think I understand the question.
Do you get to, is it your excuse for buying a lot of comics?
Oh, okay. Well, now that I am incorporated as an LLC, and you know, I am my own company, and I have like taxes I have to pay and stuff, I can write off pretty much everything I buy, on my taxes, which is cool. But like the rebate only goes up to so much, and I definitely spend more than that. But it's cool to get a little bit of it back.
Dialetto Nerd. This is an interesting one. Classic comics that disappointed you.
So pretty much all classic comics disappoint me, but it's not their fault. It's my fault. It's a product of two things. One, having read a lot of modern comics, and two, sort of like never being able to turn off like my brain picking stuff apart. Like I can't really watch or read anything for pure enjoyment anymore. Like I'm always in the back of my mind, like, okay, like if I like what's going on here, like how are they getting that effect and how can I do it? Or if I don't like it, I'm just thinking, all right, what went wrong here? And like, how can I do it differently? But like with the classics, like I'm reading Sandman right now, which I understand intuitively is a really well written book and is a classic for a reason. But reading it 30 years after it came out, and having seen other people take what Gaiman did, like a lot of the techniques that he developed, and refine them and use them in different and better ways over time because they've had the luxury of 30 years to figure it out better. Like I look back and I see it, I'm like, okay, in 1987, I understand why this was amazing, but I've also seen X, Y, and Z writer and artists do this and do it better now. So it's harder for me looking back. In terms of like pure disappointment, I think Crisis on Infinite Earths really didn't do anything for me. It was extremely wordy and hard to read, and like the story just was insanely complex and like made it very hard to follow. I'd say that's probably the only book I've ever read where I was like, at the end of it, I couldn't like at least make an excuse for why I liked it. but again,
I followed that in single issues when it first came out, and I too found it really following the mid 80s or whenever I was reading it in singles.
Yeah, I think that I understand why it's important because it changed the industry in a lot of ways and created the reboot essentially, and like it's got some really epic moments like Death of Supergirl and stuff like that. But I don't know, the sum of the parts does not make the whole great. Like there are definitely good elements to it, but like you throw 10 bad fish in with 7 good fish, it's still like a majority bad set of fish. That's a weird, dumb analogy, but
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Gio's Wi-Fi is not working, so he has signed off. You can find Gio on A Week in Geekdom on his channel. And this is probably a good point for us to close out. We've gotten a lot of great information from you, Frank. This has been a great interview.
Yeah.
You've been a wonderful guest. I really appreciate the fact that you've given us your time this morning, the morning in your time, afternoon our time. Is there anything you'd like to plug? It sounds like we've gotten everything you wanted to talk about. Is there anything extra you'd like to talk about plugging wise?
I mean, like this part of the interview is usually where I'm like, oh, go pre-order No Heroine and like, check out the book and make sure you get your pre-order in. But like I've kind of like steered away from that like last couple weeks just because I think that's important to me and I hope people do pre-order the book. But I like honestly, if there's any book you want right now, like I know there's like a spiritual successor to Road of Bones that came out last year from Rich Douek called Sea of Sorrows that's in previews right now. There's a new Kanto series coming out this summer from David Booher and Drew Zucker. And there's just like a whole bunch of really great stuff that's in previews right now and it's coming down the line and stuff like that. And if you hear about a book you like, go make sure you pre-order it, especially now. Like comic shops are really, really struggling. And if this does clear up, they're going to need those pre-orders so that they have stock coming in June or July or August or for the rest of the year. So like, be very conscious of the stuff that sounds cool to you and make sure that you tell your retailer that you want it. Don't go to the shop, stay in your house, but like email them, Facebook them, call them. I mean, we live in a very connected world. Find a way you can. And just make sure that you're putting your money into your shop, like for the things that you want. So that way everybody can win. It's so incredibly important. And I think that it's more worthwhile for me to tell you about that than to tell you about my shit.
Very well said, man. Thanks for looking out for the little guys.
Yeah. And you can go to, where can we go to get Dead End Kids Source Point?
So the trade is on sourcepointpress.com. It's $10 plus shipping for the whole thing. And then it's on cheapgraphicnovels.com, I think, for $7 plus shipping. So anyone who orders over there and gets the free shipping, I think they offer just you can get it cheaper there. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out how to get Source Point stuff over in stock trades, because that's where I order from, and I'd love to see their stuff there.
Right. That is a reminder for me to talk about instocktrades.com, where you can get your collected editions up to 50%. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. There's always an Omnibros Live code every quarter. IST is having a huge damages sale right now, 50% off their damaged books, and you can find some real gems in there. If you order $50 or more worth of books, you get free shipping in the United States. Fantastic customer service, fabulous packaging. That's in stocktrades.com. And Gabe, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at Instagram. Gabe loves 90s comics. And if you want to support a comic book store, Torpedo Comics, you can find me there every day on Instagram, Torpedo Comics, doing live claim sales for hot back issues, key books, variants, modern books. All the great good stuff goes up on there every day, Torpedo Comics on Instagram.
Nice. And you can find me, Omnidog, on Omnidog's Vault on YouTube. And you can find me on Instagram, Omnidog_Vault. So thank you to Frank Gogol.
Thank you, sir.
Great interview. This was super interesting. And I'm really glad you were able to give us so much of your time. And as always, to the chat, thank you very much. You were lively. I appreciated all your questions. And to our viewers who are watching this afterwards, thank you for watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Feel free to comment. And peace and love. Peace and love.
Bye, everybody.